Hello, everyone. Welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 433. Andrew here, and I have a problem. Well, more than one. But one of my myriad problems is I want to be positive. I want to talk about things that make me happy, that are good and wholesome and fun. And while such things certainly do exist in the world, they are competing with things that are not wholesome or pure or fun. And I'm looking at my list of topics for this podcast, and a couple of them are things that make me unhappy. Things that are kind of bad. That at best, like the best thing I can say is, hey, look at how silly this thing that this person in a position of power that they shouldn't hold said. What a dope. That's like the best positive spin I can put on it. So I think I'll skip all of that. But I do want to briefly talk about generative AI. Something that does not bring me joy. Because it's a ever so mildly amusing story. And short. Raina, hello. I was at work, a place I wouldn't bother to be if I didn't need money to, pay rent and buy food and the occasional video game. I'm so material. My workplace, like many workplaces, are dipping their toe, or at least that much, into the generative AI pool. And I, and some of my other coworkers, hello Chaos, have been tasked with, well, what we've been told is that we've been tasked with evaluating, specifically ChatGPT and Copilot, to determine how they can be used in order to increase efficiency or accuracy or both in our work. Not to be too conspiratorial, but I believe that what they actually mean is we've spent a lot of money on these tools. And we continue to spend money on, because it's not a buy once and you're done, it's an ongoing license. So you goddamn well better justify our purchase. Or else. That's kind of the vibe we're getting. And if you ignore the ethics of using these tools, or the environmental impact of using these tools, or the health, safety, and well-being risks of using these tools, all things you really should not ignore, I think. Some random goober on the internet. They're bad tools. So it's very difficult to, I would love to go to my boss's boss or boss's boss's boss or whoever the hell and say, you done backed the wrong horse. It's a bad tool. Even if you do ignore ethics and environmental impact and health and safety and privacy and all that jazz. It's a bad tool. It shouldn't be used. If you stopped spending money on this tool, you could not lay off the 10% of our workforce that you did last November. Wouldn't that be lovely? Nevertheless, that is not how it works, and I am in a group of folks who are desperately trying to come up with use cases for these tools where we can show how much more efficient and accurate, or both, or one or the other, that these tools make our work. Except they just don't, because they are inaccurate and inconsistent. I mean, if I wanted to positively spin it, I could say they're consistently inconsistent. So, one of my colleagues was talking about his frustration with, what was it specifically? He had, we're trying to build a GPT to do a certain thing, which it's never going to be able to do, at least to my satisfaction, to my standards, which are pretty high. Here's my TI-86 calculator that I've had since grade school. When I do a calculation on this sucker, the answer is correct. Every single time. If I couldn't rely on this tool to give me the correct answer to any problem I punch in consistently, I wouldn't use the tool. But that's not how generative AI works. So you have to expect it to be inaccurate and inconsistent in its output. Nevertheless, my colleague was complaining about the fact that ChatGPT would occasionally lose track of the documents that he uploaded to ChatGPT to work with. And he put in the shared chat, hey, has anyone seen this? I'm like, yes. Not only have I seen ChatGPT just completely lose track of the documents that I uploaded to it, I've seen ChatGPT lose track of the output that it just output. Like, you'll instruct it to do something like organize this stuff and put it in a spreadsheet, and it does its thing, and it puts it in a spreadsheet, you download the spreadsheet, you open it up, and it's not how you would like it in various ways. So you say, oh, ChatGPT, sweet summer child. When I told you the column order, I expected you to do that column order with those names. You seem to have just combined two columns or dropped a column or whatever the hell it did. Do it again, but do what I told you to do in the first place. And ChatGPT will say, thank you for keeping me on the ball. You're good at this. I promise I will listen to you and blah, da, 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 da. Just upload the file and I'll... What do you need me to upload it for? It's your fucking file. It's yours. You just made it. So yeah, I've seen that a bunch of times. Where I'm going with this is one of our other colleagues was like, well, maybe we can just overload it with documentation. We could go through the incredible time and expense of creating documentation that explicitly describes every rule, every button, every page, every screen in one of our applications. And then ChatGPT would be able to reference that documentation and spit out the right answer. And my first thought was, well, no, if it can't do something simple accurately and consistently, what makes you think it can do something complicated? Oh, if we just give it more stuff to fuck up, surely it'll be fine. But my first question was, like, number one, I chimed in and I said, I find myself pausing because I think that gives it more room to err. Aside from that, I don't know what the file upload limit of a GPT is into the knowledge section. Does anybody know? Yeah, no, no, no. And I was like, oh shit. I know someone is going to ask ChatGPT what its file upload limit is, which is a bad thing to do because you should never ask ChatGPT anything, anything that you care about an accurate answer for anyway. Perhaps counterintuitively, but not even how ChatGPT can work, because sometimes it gets it wrong. So I very quickly just went to OpenAI's help section and looked it up. And I found out that the answer was 512 megs per file, up to 20 files. So even if it could be relied upon to not completely bork the whole thing, this would take way more than 20 files, and probably more than 512 megs times 20. So this isn't tenable in the first place. And I told them this. And they kept talking, and I kept reading this particular page about the knowledge section of GPTs in OpenAI's help menu. And I got down to the section at the bottom called Tips for Getting the Most Out of Knowledge. And I started reading that. And I burst out laughing while one of my colleagues was talking in a very serious discussion. I guffawed. I was not on mute. Oops. Have you ever, think back to when you were in school, or if you're still in school, have you ever been like in school, in a classroom, or maybe even like some type of presentation where you're sitting and listening to a lecturer of some sort, or you're in a library, somewhere where you're supposed to be quiet and respectful to those around you, and you yawn, and it accidentally comes out really, really loud. You're expecting to just do one of those, and you end up going, I was like, oh, geez, oh, I am so sorry. I totally did that. I'm not trying to express my boredom. That came out of nowhere. Like an unexpected fart or a burp. I am so sorry, right? That's what happened. I was reading the tips for getting the most out of knowledge, and I burst out laughing. And I wasn't laughing at my colleague, and I felt really bad about it because we're just all on Zoom, and it sounded like I was laughing at him. Here's what I was laughing at. Using instruction, tip number 2, by the way. Using instructions in the GPT editor, you can encourage the GPT to rely on knowledge first before searching the internet. Not you can instruct, you can make, you can ensure. No, you can encourage ChatGPT to do what you want. It might not, but you know, if you're using this and you want it to do a thing, well, using the instructions is one way to encourage it. Cigarettes are bad for you. All of the companies that made cigarettes knew that. But it's more difficult to make money off of a product which is extraordinarily bad for not only your health, but the health of those around you. That's not an easy sales pitch. Buy our product. It will probably kill you and make the people around you sick. It'll also turn your walls a disgusting shade of yellow and will make it smell very, very bad. Your house will smell. Your car will smell. Your clothes will smell. Now give us money. My point is, the Camel and all of the other companies that sold cigarettes really didn't want to mention that part. They kind of, you know, left that out of the marketing. They didn't put that on the box until they were legally required to. And then they put it in the most inconspicuous place they could find, in the smallest print they could get away with, in the most innocuous language they could legally craft. Because they didn't want you to know that. Contrast that with OpenAI and all of the other companies that have LLM-based generative AI chatbots that they're trying to sell you. And all of them say, ChatGPT, or whatever this particular product is, can make mistakes. Make sure you're fact-checking, or something along those lines. And that language not only is not legally required, there's been no court case that has come down requiring these companies to disclaim that generative AI chatbots can be incorrect in their output. No. One, the companies decided to do that themselves. And two, they didn't just bury it in an EULA or a terms of service. No. It's right there on the front page under the prompt box, which says to me, OpenAI et al. Knew that their product was so unbelievably shit that they needed to get out in front of this and put that in not huge text, but it needs to be there and it needs to be on the front page. We need to get in front of this. We can't bury that. We can't keep it under the rug. We can't bury it in an EULA or TOS. It needs to be there. It needs to be on the front page. They know. And reading through their help documentation, using instructions, you can encourage so when you give, they admit it themselves, when you give ChatGPT an instruction, it's more of a suggestion. It may follow your instruction. It may not. Boy, I hope no one actually tries to use this shit for anything important. Anything that might affect anyone's life or health or well-being or physical safety. But let's move on to other topics because this makes me unhappy. In fact, some of the topics I crossed off my list were around these lines. Jared says, part of the problem is that your company is using the worst model of AIs. My company is looking into others as well. I mean, there are a lot of people in this company. I know we're looking at Claude. But we also work with a lot of very sensitive data. So we need to be absolutely certain that we are, minding our P's and Q's when it comes to sensitive data. So there's that at least. So yeah, we're not, I would be exceptionally surprised if we were stopping at Copilot and ChatGPT. I know there are others that are currently being evaluated and are essentially just waiting on security approvals before they are rolled out in some limited sense. But, hey, Chicago. But let's move on to video games, because I like those better. Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm now done with Monster Hunter Wilds, a year and a week or two later. So I got a lot of use out of that game, and I'm sure I'll be back for the Master Rank expansion. On the other hand, I did play and enjoy Rise, and I never bothered with Sunbreak, so who really knows? But I did leave two unfinished tasks in low rank. Um, Proof of a Hero, which is the defeat all of the arch-tempered monsters except Jindahad in the arena in 50 minutes. And that one, I'm pretty damn close. I keep running out of time, but I can get Arkveld, the final monster, down to Skull with about 2.5 minutes remaining. Generally, it takes me 4 or 5 minutes to kill Arkveld when it hits Skull, so I probably only need like 2, maybe 3 extra minutes. What that means is I just need one run where I play particularly well on one of the monsters. Like, if I manage to just absolutely dominate Ray Dow and play the rest of it as normal, boom. Bob's your uncle. The other one, but I haven't done that yet. The other one is the new 10-star Gogmazios quest, which is a big dragon, which was unique in that it was kind of a siege fight where you could have, I think, 7, 8 including you, I think is what it was. Normally, if you're playing multiplayer, it's a 4-player hunt. Well, Gogmazios, you can do 8. I don't know if 4 are always computer controlled or if you can have 7 other friends online. I only play single player, so when I hunt Gogmazios, it's with 7 computer characters. Computer controlled characters. Fun fight, really like it. I tried the 10-star one once. The other thing about Gogmazios is it's one of those fights that has a damage check, a DPS check. You have to bring a dragon element weapon, and you have to do enough dragon element damage to keep his Eschaton Judgment. That was the Elatrion thing, but big fire-breathing explosion kind of a thing that will kill you if you don't do enough dragon damage to make that attack survivable. However much dragon damage you need to do, at some point in that range, one of the characters will yell at you, "We're doing well! We're on our way!" Something along those lines. I don't know if it's at like 60% or 70% or where exactly in there, but it tells you that you're working towards the goal, and then once you've hit it, one of the characters will say, "Yay, we kept its power in check." And if you keep its power in check, its explosion is survivable. If not, you die. You have a couple of chances, though. You have a couple of carts, feints, KOs, deaths. Not only did I fail to keep Gogmazios' power in check every single time on the 10-star version of that quest, and what makes it particularly difficult is what I forgot to mention is normally it's an 8 hunter quest. This one cuts that in half. You can only have 3 other support hunters, so it's only 4 people. So the damage output for a monster that apparently has 400,000 hit points is sliced in half. So that's a lot of NPC damage you're missing out on. And apparently I needed it because not only did I not keep its power in check every single time, I didn't even make it to wherever in that range the character says we're on our way or we're doing good or we're almost there. Wherever that is, 50, 60, 70%, I don't know. I never even got there, which tells me, unlike the Proof of a Hero quest, which I just need about 2 more minutes to squeeze in a win, Gogmazios, I'm not even close. Not even close. So I'm done. I gave up. Which sounds pretty lame, I suppose, but the problem I have with both of those quests is they are arranged in a way that I particularly don't jive with. I don't mind so much failing a quest because I'm just not good enough, right? I keep getting killed, right? Um I can't parry the enemy's attacks, or I can't dodge its attacks, or right? That can be frustrating, but it doesn't particularly bother me. What does bother me is not failing to beat a monster, but failing to beat a monster arbitrarily fast enough. For me, anyway, there are few things in the realm of video games. Few things in the realm of video games more deflating than spending 50 minutes on a quest beating the snot out of monsters, feeling pretty good about yourself, having a lot of fun, and then the game saying, no, you lose. No, you're taking too long. Like the game got bored with me. You know? I'll admit, sometimes I just run out of steam and I get bored with the game and I hang it up. But this feels like the game's like, nah, man, if you can't do it in 50 minutes, piss off. I'm bored now. Go away. That is the worst, in the context of games, mind you, that is one of the just the worst feelings. You know, if I get, 48 minutes into the fight and Arkveld knocks me senseless, that's frustrating. That's, damn, fudge, phooey. But that's like, so close, gotta try again, gotta get good. But when I'm beating the snot out of Arkveld and haven't carded once, and then suddenly the game's like, you know what, time's up, you're done, go away. If you can't beat the dragon in 50 minutes, I don't care if you can beat it in 52 minutes, you're pathetic, go away. It's just like, it feels bad. I don't want to play anymore. Proof of a Hero, I feel like another couple tries I had. I was really close. But 10-star Gogmazios, I'm not even remotely close. Like, and I thought I was playing really, really well. One of the issues I have with Gogmazios is it's one of the difficulties I have in completing the Gogmazios quest is Gogmazios really likes staying in the air a lot, and he has a particularly large arena where he'll land far away from me, and I'll run over to where he is, and then I'll wheel back and try to chop him in the face, and by the time I unsheath my weapon and swing it at him, he moves to the other side. I'm like, shit. I put my weapon away and run on over to the... And I end up chasing him around, and I don't do as much damage as I need to. With the 10-star Gogmazios fight, he seems to... Either was just the luck of the draw, or he's programmed to do that because less people. He was on the ground a lot more. I'm like, oh man, I'm kicking ass. I'm not even like because a lot of times I end up just like clipping his ankle before he leaves. But I was SAED super amped element discharging right into his face, and his wing talons is where he takes the most damage. I'm like, I'm doing really well. No, not even close to the DPS check. And I failed all three. I think that, did I not have insurance? I probably didn't eat before I probably had a meal that still had like 40 minutes left, so I didn't. And I'd probably used like my insurance on Proof of a Hero, so. Yeah, I missed, because the first, you get a freebie, the first dragon attack, there's a ledge you can stand on to avoid being killed, but that ledge crumbles the first time. And I died 3 times to that attack. He never got me with a bite or a stomp or anything like that. It was just I couldn't meet the DPS check, and it wasn't even close. So it's like, huh. And that fight took me like I think 40 minutes or something like that. I'm like, I mean, I did die instead of timing out, so that's something. But I'm like, yeah, I don't think I personally can do this. I mean, I probably can in master rank when I just get weapons strong enough to just bully him. So that's one way to do it, I suppose. But yeah, I'm done with Monster Hunter Wilds, the base game. I'm missing 2 pieces of Gogmazios armor because the cheap son of a bitch would not drop the gems, which are 1 to 2% drops. And that quest takes me half an hour, and I don't really like... It's a fun quest, but it's really long to farm, you know, especially for such a rare drop. But, you know, I put lots and lots of hours into it. I had a ton of fun. There's 2 quests that are just... I appreciate that they work in a way that allow me to engage with them, unlike in World and Iceborne, where the siege quests were not really available to a single player of my skill level. I know there were some people who could solo Safi Jiva, but I'm not one of them. Or Kulv Taroth. I'm not one of them. And there were no NPC characters to help you out in those days. So, oh well. But yeah, I really don't like the timeout thing. I would prefer they just lock away the camp. I know why they do it, because if they didn't draw some arbitrary time limit, you could just infinitely go back to camp and refill your health potions. You just restock over and over and over. They essentially have a infinite health bar, right? Well, I mean, the solution to that is either make the attacks one-shotters all the time, or just don't let you go back to camp, or limit what you can restock. Like the good old days of Monster Hunter, what you brought on the quest was what you had. But of course, back in those days, they also had a time limit. So, I just don't like time limits. Because they're arbitrary, and they're also weirdly immersion breaking for me. Like in the fiction of the Monster Hunter universe, it doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. Oh my god, this destructive force of nature is going to raise the land out from under us. Help us, Hunter. Only you can save the lives of us and our children and those cute chicken bird monsters. But if you can't do it in 50 minutes, don't fucking bother. It's like, wait, what? It's like, alright, I'm gonna need 90 minutes to take down the giant dragon. Ah, shit. If you can't do it in 50, we may as well all just die. Have fun with that. Video games. Let's see. Time limits in games in general are bad. I mean, it depends. I mean, like racing games where it's about, you know, getting the fastest time. I mean, at least, well, arcade racers were like, you didn't do it fast enough, you can't keep playing. But that's usually the arcade racers rather than specifically racing games. But yeah, Jared says multiplayer in Monster Hunter makes the fights harder. From what I know, Wilds hasn't changed that. Yeah, it depends. What he's saying is the monster's health scales with the number of hunters. I think it's typically there are specific fight exceptions, and I believe Gogmazios is one of them. I think Gogmazios has a flat health pool regardless of how many hunters. I don't know that for sure. That's what I've offhandedly heard. Don't know if that's correct, but that's what I've heard. That specific fight, Gogma doesn't scale because it's built for multiple hunters. I don't know if the 10-star is any different. I do know that that like the Proof of a Hero fight, the monster's health pool is X when you're by yourself. If you bring in one buddy, then it's X plus 1. And if you have 3 or 4 people in your party, then it's X plus 2. Right? So it scales like that. I think 3 and 4 players have the same health pool, but so the monster has the lowest amount of health when you're soloing it. It has a bit more health when you're duoing it, and it has the maximum health when you're 3 or 4ing it. For what it's worth, now there are some advantages to fighting with more, but the more people you have with you, it's kind of a double-edged sword. One, it gives the monster more targets, so it's not always focused exclusively on you, right? Which gives you a chance to sharpen, or lay down a trap, or throw up a life powder or something, or buff the party with the what is it, the demon powder. Um, but so it gives it more targets, but it also means that the monster could go chasing down someone, which means you chase after him. I find that for me, I played solo. I've played multi with the computer control characters several times just to play with them because they're there, and the interactions are sometimes pretty funny. Usually I solo though, just me and my cat. Um, it's one, they have the lower health pool, and two, my cat is usually good enough to take the to take the attention off of me on occasion, so that I can sharpen or lay down a trap or do whatever. Um, and also when it's just me and my Palico, the cat, the monster usually isn't running all over the place, meaning that I'm chasing after them all the time, which wastes time on those quests where time is of the essence. So yeah, fun game. Really enjoyed it. Very much looking forward to seeing what they do with whatever they end up calling Master Rank. So Resident Evil came out end of last month. Resident Evil 9 Requiem. Or is it just Resident Evil Requiem? I don't remember if it actually has a 9 in the title. Came out, I think, February 27th or something like that. And looks cool. Really, I'm particularly intrigued with the zombies, at least some of them. I don't know if this is all the zombies or just zombies in a certain area of the game, but some of the zombies seem to have memories of past life and have limited speech and personality, and I find that intriguing. That could be very cool. So I'm a big fan of Resident Evil, very much looking forward to playing the game, and I did not buy it. Why? Is it because it's $70? Well, yes, partially, but also because I'm pretty sure there's going to be DLC. So, I'll just wait a year until the game drops until they either sell a gold edition for $40, which includes all the DLC, which they used to do, but they didn't do that with Resident Evil 4 remake a couple of years ago. That actually didn't have a gold edition, but when it's not Project Ada, what the hell is it called? Separate Ways. When the Separate Ways DLC came out, the base game dropped to $40, so I just bought the base game and then the DLC for $10, and I was like, all right, that works for me. And that's kind of how I'm handling Resident Evil 9 Requiem. 9 Requiems. There's a lot of Requieming in this game. Of course, back when the game was announced, there was no DLC, so I was kind of assuming there would be. Of course, doing that also gives them time to do post-launch updates to, fix the game in case there's something game-breaking in there. Also, just to make sure that it works at all. Of course, Capcom is not Bethesda. They're usually pretty good about their launch games being playable. So that's nice that they meet that very low bar usually. But 11 days later, Capcom announced that, hey, guess what, friends? We're doing story DLC. And I'm like, you don't say. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to playing Resident Evil 9 Requiems. Probably sometime next fall, I would assume. I would imagine it's probably a quarter 3 or quarter 4 release for the the story DLC, and by the time that comes out, the base game will drop, and there we go. Jared says, from what I've seen read, the 10-star is not designed for solos, aka not fair for solos. Yeah, I didn't try 10-star Gogma solo. I tried it with the limited NPCs that I was allowed to bring with me. I think I probably brought Fabius, Nadia, and Kai, probably, because he buffs a lot. Because he's the not Hunting Horn. I was thinking insect glaive. I'm like, none of them are glavers. He's a hunting horn. So he's constantly doing like damage buffs and stuff, which is really useful. Um, but yeah, I just couldn't keep his power in check. So, so everyone in Wyveria died. Or wait, no, it's the oil well basin. That's everyone in the oil well basin's dead now. Because I couldn't keep his power in check. Because four of my party were apparently busy doing stuff. They're like, "Oh, we'd love to help you with the Gogmazios, but we've got it's not his birthday, and we're throwing him a party, and we got the that Wyverian blind gal, the songstress, the what the hell is her name? The gal who sings at the hub every other night. She's gonna be there, and we hired a clown. Uh, so that's pretty cool. And so we were pretty sure you got this. They were wrong. I did not got it. In fact, I gave up. I said, no, no, no. I'm not even close. Proof of a Hero, I was really, really close on, but 10-star Gogma, I'm like, no, I'm not even close. I'm gonna have to come back when I have master rank equipment, I think. So anyway, Resident Evil. It looks like a lot of fun. Friend of mine from work was talking about the product placement, and he hadn't played it either, but he's like, "What do you think about product placement in video games?" I said, "I mean, I know that Leon's car is it a Porsche or something. I know they did a big deal about, oh, we've got an actual real Porsche in the car, and his watch is like a super fancy watch, um, and you can buy one." I'm like, a Porsche or a watch? Hey, both. You could be just like Leon. Isn't he infected with like some zombie virus or something? Like he was looking kind of bad in the trailer. It's like, well, no, not in that way, but you could be cool like Leon and drive a Porsche and wear a really expensive watch. And it's like, no, no, probably can't. Probably can't afford that. Um, Last week I was talking about how I'm fortunate enough to be pulling in enough of a paycheck to actually be able to start investing my money as of like August, last August. Um, so I rolled over my previous job's 401k and my IRA and some money I had in my savings to a financial planner who was doing a favor to a mutual friend because normally he wouldn't take on clients who don't have at least $500,000 in assets to invest, and I do not have that much, not even close. But I'm also at least 2 decades away from retirement, so that's plenty of time to uh, try and grow a little money. I know I should not keep logging into my investment accounts and staring at the lines and the numbers, but I keep doing that, and I'm a little bummed out to see that the amount of money that I've invested is now higher than the value of my investments. So say that I invested $100, right? That $100 of investments is now worth about $97. It was worth like $105, but now it's worth $97. That's not great, but you know, 20 years from retirement, plenty of time for that to turn around. So, and as I said last week, I do try. I know a lot of people aren't even in a position to invest, and I wasn't until like literally half a year ago. And I'm in my back half of my 40s now. So, yeah, I get that. So I'm trying to keep a stiff upper lip and say, well, At least I have enough money to lose a lot of money. If by my standards, anyway. Oh, so I'm not gonna buy a Porsche or a fancy watch, and I do find that kind of funny. Like Resident Evil 9 is a big budget AAA game from big studio. Um, there's probably like 100, 150 people on the main team, not including all of the people that they contract to do cutscenes and all kinds of other stuff. Very expensive game to produce. So I personally don't fault Capcom for like making a deal with Porsche and who, it's not Rolex, I don't think, but whoever the watch peoples are, where they're like, hey, if you put our car in the game, if you put our watch in the game, we'll give you money. It's like, oh, well, shit, this is an expensive project. I mean, it's Resident Evil. We're almost certainly going to make a profit. But if we can subsidize some of the extreme cost of development by just putting a car and a watch in there, sure. And, you know, Leon's been working for the government for 20 years. I'm not sure when this takes place exactly, but he's like in his very early 20s in Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 4 takes place like 5 years, 4 to 6 years later, something like that. And this is like 10, 15 years after that. So he's probably pushing 50 at this point. You know, government job for, 25 years. Saved the president's daughter. Killed the president in Resident Evil 6 when he turned into a zombie, so that maybe that's a bit of a demerit. But I imagine that Leon's financially done pretty well for himself. And damn it, if Leon wants to drive a Porsche and wear a fancy watch, I'd say at this point, Leon S. Kennedy has earned it. And I'm sure Ada would agree. I wonder if Ada's in the game. Don't tell me, I'm sure you know. I'd actually be surprised if she was not. I'm assuming Ada's in the game somewhere. I would genuinely be surprised if Ada is not in the game. But, anyway, yeah. Product placement doesn't bother me unless, it's out of place, like it's anachronistic. Like if there was a Coke can in, Elder Scrolls Oblivion or something, right? That would be like, what the hell's a Coke can doing in here? There's no Coke there, right? But if I'm driving around a modern city and there's a billboard for Denny's, I don't care. Denny's exists. It's fine. I mean, to me, that's like complaining, like, that's a eucalyptus. Hey, the big eucalyptus is sponsoring. No, trees exist. It's fine. Coke exists. Denny's exists. As long as it makes sense there, it's fine. And, importantly, as long as the scene direction is focused on what's important, which would nominally be the protagonists, or perhaps the characters and the action, and not the brand, right? What bothers me is the Superman movie from like 2013. What the hell was the name of the movie? It wasn't Superman. It was Man of Steel. Man of Steel. There's a middle of the movie. There's a fight in. Is he in Smallville? He's in a small town, and there's a bunch. There's like a Sears and a Denny's and a 7-Eleven, but he's like on a small town main street. I would expect those to be there, so that's not a problem. What is a problem is the way a lot of the shots are framed, where Superman isn't the focus, it's Lowe's. It's like Lowe's logo is center frame, Superman's kind of relegated to the corner of the frame. That's distracting, that's annoying. That I don't like. If your character's refrigerator is full of Coca-Cola, or if their dinner table has got Coke cans in front of each of the place settings, I don't have a problem with that, unless every single can of Coke is always conspicuously label facing wherever the camera is. That's silly and distracting. Or if everyone unnaturally holds their can of Coke label out, not wrapping their thumb around it to obscure, but holding it like this, so that's that I have a problem with. But if Leon drives a Porsche and wears a fancy watch, cool. As long as it's just a thing and they don't make a big deal. As long as they're not aggressively trying to sell me something. Like, I don't know, maybe they changed Leon's walking gun stance to where his like watch is constantly like right in the frame or something like that. It's like something like that. I don't know. So that's where I land on that's where I land on a product placement. He says sitting in front of a lot of product. That's a lot of product. But of course, no one who makes any of that shit's paying me. So, and you can barely see what any of this is anyway. That's the Ghostbusters Firehouse. That's the DVD set for the real Ghostbusters cartoon. That's a squishy cat face stress ball that one of you gifted me. Anyway, let's see. I played some demos this week, and one I would like to talk about briefly because I thought it was pretty good. Two of them, actually. Let me write that down. No, what is it called? Yeah. Okay. So, thanks to Jared, maybe Brian, I think it was Jared, turned me on to Vampire Survivors a couple years ago, and I ended up playing it on stream, and I quite liked the game. I bounced off of it, but only after about, like, I don't know, 25, 30 hours. I played it for a good while and had a lot of fun with it. But after a while, I was like, I'm kind of done now. But I really liked Vampire Survivors. In fact, Survivors? Yeah, Survivors. In fact, I played it with my sister on one of the charity events a couple of years ago, and we had a blast doing that. So Poncle, something like that. The developers are coming out with a Vampire Survivors spin-off called Vampire Crawlers. And this is a dungeon crawler deck builder kind of a game. And they released a demo for it a couple weeks ago, I think. And I played it, and yeah, seems pretty good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty fun. I will probably, I mean, unless it's like $50. I think Vampire Survivors is $5. So if Vampire Crawlers comes out and is $5, yeah, easy purchase for me. Unless my investments tank even more. To be clear, I don't put all of my money in investments. I make sure that I have enough readily accessible in like my checking and savings account, which yields like a buck. What was my interest? I think it was $1.17 last time. So it's really sad. I keep enough money to make sure that I can, pay rent and buy food and stuff like that. So I'm not in so if my investments completely crash, that is extraordinarily unfortunate and calls my future into question. But I'm not going to be out on the street. So. Just in case anyone was, worried about my financial... if you're worried about my financial situation, I'm very glad to hear that yours is solid. Not a lot of people can say that. I should try Slay the Spire? Okay. Let me write that down, because I'll totally forget. I have heard... I'm aware of... Did the sequel come out, or is it coming out? Pretty sure they're at least working on Slay the Spire 2 if it's not already out, right? Anyway, I thought Vampire Crawlers did a really nice job of feeling in universe, feeling feeling like an actual spin-off. It feels part and parcel of that IP while having its own distinct identity, genre, and gameplay. So I think it was a well-presented demo. I think they're on the right track. It's flashy and fun. The demo's not very long. It's maybe an hour. I mean, you can keep playing it, but um, yeah, it's basically slot machine the game. You know, there's lots of flashy lights and fun music, and it's like dopamine, numbers go up, little explosion things all over the place. It's fun. I imagine like Vampire Survivors, for me anyway, it's gonna have a bit of a shelf life. Like like Vampire Survivors, 30 hours, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. Crawlers is a game that's a bit more my speed, I think, because there's just a bit more going on. There's more decision making. It's a little bit more involved. So I imagine it similarly will have a shelf life for me, but I also would not be surprised if Crawlers holds my attention longer than Survivors did. So yay. Oh, Slay the Spire 2's in early access. Okay. The other one that I just played a couple of days ago is called Forbidden Solitaire. And what I was particularly... It's a solitaire game. What I was particularly... And it's forbidden. What I was particularly tickled by, though, is the premise of the game is Forbidden Solitaire, the game you're playing, is actually a CD-ROM game from like 1995 that no one remembers anymore. You actually play a character who found a $2 a copy of Forbidden Solitaire in like a Walmart sale bin. It's like, oh, holy shit, I remember this from back in the 90s. Joe Lieberman was shitting his pants over this in Night Trap. Oh, it's only $2. I should buy this. I wonder if I can even get my computer to run it. That kind of a thing. What particularly impressed me is if it didn't have that framing, if it didn't have that wraparound story, and you didn't know any better, you might genuinely be convinced that this is a CD-ROM game from the mid-90s. They nailed the look and the presentation and, the look and the presentation. Holy biscuits, they've got that down pat. It looks terrible in the exact way that CD-ROM games looked in the mid 90s. It's the early CD, the 3D that barely animates, the full motion cutscenes that are compressed all to hell, the low color depth that causes all of the damn color banding. Oh my god, it is so accurate. Of course, if you are younger than 35, Jesus, if you're younger than 35, it might not mean that much to you. That may predate you enough where you don't have any nostalgia for that. Luckily, the game, I feel, succeeds on more than just sheer nostalgia. And to be fair, I didn't like any of those CD-ROM games I don't like Myst. I think Myst is crap. Oh, if you need a point of reference, think games like Myst or Riven, or Seventh Guest, games that... Aren't they remaking that in 3D? I think they are. But games like that really nails the vibe of those. But what's particularly interesting about this game is that the Solitaire is actually it's following the basic rules of Solitaire, but it's presenting it in a somewhat unique and horror tinged way. You're basically playing Solitaire. A giant rat monster menaces you as you're trapped in the underground labyrinth. What are you going to do? Well, you You play solitaire at it. You beat that toothy rat monster at solitaire. That's how you kill it. Obviously. Oh, hey, did you find a locked door? Well, let's play solitaire to unlock it. Yeah, it's that kind of a thing. But the gameplay is actually fun. There's the demo's a little bit limited, but there's like Balatro-esque superpowers or perks or buffs that you can get, like play extra turn, or extra mana, extra HP, that kind of thing. You can buy like wild cards to stack it to slip into your deck to help you make combos, that kind of a thing. So it's a little bit more in depth than just basic solitaire. And the way they lay out the cards is different depending on the rounds. So that's pretty cool. The additional thing they do is, as I mentioned in the fiction of the game, you're some person who just plucked this out of a garbage bin, not garbage, a sale bin at a store, and you're playing it on your computer. And while you're playing it, your sister keeps texting you. So you'll be playing the game and bloop, your says, "Hey, I heard you finally found a copy of Forbidden Solitaire. Oh man, you gotta let me play it. Maybe, no one can find that. No one's seen it for years." It's amazing that you found it in a store, almost like something malevolent wanted you to find it. That's kind of the subtextual vibes it's given off. If that even is your sister talking to you. Anyway, so she constantly interrupts you with text messages. She says, "Oh, I'm so jealous. You got to let me play it or rip it and put it on a file sharing site so I can play it. In the meantime, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole of research." And every once in a while, she comes back to you and she's like, "Oh man, remember this ad for the game that all the parents and the politicians got their undies in a twist over? Ah ha ha ha! Ah, good times." And oh hey, I found this old clip of a news segment from the mid-90s about protesters protesting the unnecessary graphic violence of the solitaire game, and there's a clip of that, and the demo ends with an article talking about the one of the game's developers ended their life by stuffing 2 ceremonial daggers in their skull. It's like, oh shit. What's going on here? So intriguing. So again, if it's like $5 or something, easy buy. It doesn't have to be that cheap, but if it's $50, that seems steep. But if it's reasonably priced by whatever seems reasonable in my little noggin, then yeah, I'll probably check that one out. That seemed pretty cool. And finally, Clair Obscur, Expedition 33. Still playing. Almost done, I think. 2 more super bosses to go, at least that I know of. And what I wanted to talk about is Clair Obscur has a very interesting approach to its super bosses. At least my read on it. Because I was playing against Simon, good old Simon, and he was kicking my ass because he's got 2 phases, and I was particularly tickled when I beat his first phase. I'm like, yeah, because the game kind of does it like an end screen, like you beat the boss, and then there's a cutscene, and then Simon's like, "No, we're going another round." I'm like, oh no. And he's like, "You thought my combos were long in the first place? I'm a double them. I'm doing the Johnny Cage after image thing for every attack, so you don't just block, hit 1, block, hit 2, block, hit 3. No, you gotta block. It is pretty obnoxious, but it's pretty fun. I managed to get the first phase down to like 10 or 12 minutes, but the problem I was running into was phase 1 takes me 10 to 12 minutes. which means it takes 10 to 12 minutes to get to the point where I need to practice the new combos. Because it's not just that there are some of the combos are exactly the same, they're just doubled. There's plenty new ones. So 10 or 12 minutes, I get to phase 2, I'm like, okay, wait, is that the one where he pirouettes twice? Oh, no, it's the other one, and I'm dead. Shoot. You know, I think I'll go to the DLC Cotton Candy Island for now, because Simon's kicking my butt. So I went to the Cotton Candy Island, which was pretty funny. I like that area. And I went into and I fought the boss of that area. And remember a week or two ago when I fought Clair, I think? And I had mentioned that it was an exceptionally long boss fight, like it took me over an hour. The final boss of the Cotton Candy Carnival area, which I really want to say what it is, but I guess that's kind of a spoiler, so I'll not, but it's very cool. I did beat it my first try, surprisingly, but it took me an hour and 40 minutes. Because it made particularly strong use of a new status unique to that DLC island, which wraps your fists in cotton candy or something like that. So every time you punch things, you only do 1 damage. And like Burn, that sucker stacks. And Mael, my main damage dealer, she got stacked with like 27 of them. She spent like half the goddamn fight with her fists wrapped in cotton candy, and I could not get, because that boss has some really great attacks and fun combos, but man, you mess it up, and she just, the stack just keeps stacking, and she's my main damage dealer, and I didn't have her loaded out with, like, I think I had Void something on her, which is like a 5-hit combo, but that's like the largest multi-hit combo I had with her. So every time her turn came up, I had to do that one just to try and get down out from under that stack so I could finally damage the son of a bitch. And it wasn't a terribly difficult fight because it was great attacks, very readable, challenging to perfectly parry. But yeah, I think that's why it took me an hour and 40 minutes to... I had to take a bathroom break. I think I took 2 breaks. I think I might have stopped for dinner at some point, because, geez. And that's when I realized, I think the DLC super bosses, I think they're puzzles. I don't think... Is it Sandfall? I think it's Sandfall. I don't think Sandfall intended you to spend an hour and a half on these fights. I don't think Sandfall meant, we want you to get perfect at these, like, 18-string combos so that you can get through these fights. I think they want you to break the builds and destroy these suckers. I think they want you to acknowledge the unique mechanics that these super bosses have and figure out a way around them. For example, Simon. Simon does a couple of unique things. Well, number one, he hits very, very hard. So your first thought might be, all right, I'm going to reallocate my skill points into vitality and defense. Ha 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 ha! And Simon goes, no, I just arbitrarily lower your health down to 1. So, doesn't matter what your max HP is, your health is 1. Doesn't matter what your defense rating is, your health is 1. I so much as breathe in your general direction and you die. Oh, and by the way, when you die, I remove you from the canvas so you can't be revived. Neener, neener. And you're like, oh. Well, the option is either play perfectly or shields. Ha ha! I may only have 1 HP, but and I may only be able to block like 70% of your extremely ridiculously long combo, but my shields will soak up the rest of it. And Simon says, nah, bro, all your shields are belong to me. He literally steals all your shields and adds them to himself. What an asshole. So, it becomes a puzzle. And what I ended up doing is I made a build that focused on free aim, the gun move, um, because there's a bunch of because shooting with your gun uses one of your action points, your AP, your mana, your whatever, right? You've got 9 maximum, so you've got 9 shots, right? Unless you've got less than that, then you've got less, right? But there are various pictos that when you do a free aim shot, uh, there's a variety of pictos, and one has a 20% chance of adding this status effect. One has a 20% chance of adding this buff, one, and so on and so forth. But there's also a whole other set of pictos that when you add this status effect, you get an extra AP point. When you add this buff, you get an extra AP point. So if you get both of them and you proc these statuses, you essentially regain the AP point you spent. But there's another Pictos that doubles all the AP you gain. So if you proc this status, you don't just get the one back that you spent, you get an additional one. So you can end up just bang, 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 just sit there firing like 30, 40 times before you run out of AP. You are going to run out eventually, but you can sit there for a hilariously long time and just shoot the son of a bitch. So I stacked other Pictos, which built up his stun bar, and then put on the Pictos that allowed me to attack and break. So basically, I didn't let him have a turn. I just kept shooting him until his break bar was up. Then I broke him, and then I started punching him in the damn face. And I beat his second phase in like 7 or 8 minutes doing that. Is it cheap? Is it cheesy? Perhaps. But I think that's what Sandfall intended. I don't think Sandfall really wanted you to play these bosses perfectly for an hour and a damn half to kill them. I think they wanted you to engage with their various systems that allow you to craft utterly broken builds to get around the unique mechanics that these super bosses have. Or maybe I'm completely wrong and I cheated. I don't know. One of the Pictos is literally called Cheater. So, did I like the fake outs? I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but there is one enemy who does I'm sure he's the one who gives you the feint, not as in but feint as in Feint. He is hilarious because he's like, no, coming from this side, no, yeah, it's like, because he's trying to goad you into parrying before he finally throws into it could be, I feel it's masterfully done because that could be supremely annoying, but it's done in such an overtly silly way that I couldn't help but find it genuinely hilarious. And he doesn't really do that much damage. You just have to manage to parry, I think, 3 hits, and he's like, oh, okay, you got it. Here's your toy. It's so damn funny. So back in the lollipop guy. Well, I mean, I know there's an enemy that has lollipops, and if you shoot them, he gets very, very angry. I don't know if you're talking about that one or something else. So there's 4 new super bosses in the Endless Tower, yeah. So the Um, the paintings up there now have another damn lamplighter character. Um, the that dual sword wielding one from like the middle of the game that had a really awesome ending cutscene where all the characters worked together to beat it to death. That was really cool. Um, both of those enemies for further bolstered my uh, presumption that Sandfall really wants you to treat these bosses like a puzzle. Um, and I'll admit, for these two, the Lamplighter and the Dualiso or something like that, I had to look up online to read about their mechanics because I couldn't figure. I forget which one it was. I think it was because I couldn't do the same thing I did with Simon. Because one of them, is it the Lamplighter or is it one of them? No, it's the Dualiso one. Um, I couldn't do the machine gun free aim thing because they don't build a break bar. They just don't. Oh, shoot. Well, okay, can't cheese it in that way. Gonna have to find another way around this. Um, and the other thing it does, or maybe it's the lamp, but one of the two. The other thing it does is I kept screwing up my turn order, and I couldn't figure out why the turn order kept changing in a way I wasn't expecting. And this is one of the ones I had to look up the mechanics of the enemy to go, oh, every time I take an extra turn because of the cheater Pictos or the what is it, second chance or fast and furious, whatever it's called. There's a couple Pictos that will give you a free extra turn. Every time you do that, the bad guy takes an extra turn. It's only fair. And I wasn't connecting that. I had to look that one up. But so that's okay. So it's either yeah, kill it first or yeah. So I had to have complete one real nice thing about Clair Obscur is you can save Pictos loadouts, so you don't have to redo it every time. Oh, thank goodness. Oh, that would be such a pain in the ass if I have to redo every single Pictos for every single character every single time. So for the lamplight, oh, the lamplighter, Jesus! It also had this weird thing where it had something to do with the way the lamps light, and I couldn't figure out. Um, oh, that son of a bitch has like 5 health bars. It just it just keeps going. Um, Boy, was I in for a surprise because my solution for that one was to it kind of do a combination of what I did with Simon. I used my machine gun builds to rapidly build up because another thing about him is he's really hard to hit. He like dodges everything. So I'm like, okay, I need to stun him so he'll hold the hell still. He's really hard to hit. But yet I don't think characters can dodge free aim shots. So I use the free aim shots to build up the gradient stuff. And Monoko has a level 3 gradient that immediately fills the break gauge and breaks it. So I basically shot the son of a bitch until his break gauge filled up, broke him, and then used my L to just destroy him because I, dumped every attack multiplying Pictos I had on her. And then he just generated another health bar. I'm like, oh shit. But I had him essentially stun locked because I just shoot him until I got the gradients up, and I'd either get to Monoko or maybe I was passing to him with CL. I don't remember. And I'd break him again. But after a while, he got bored and he just says, you know what, screw it, I'm taking a turn. And I'm really glad I had my characters, because there's some Pictos that Mael was buffed by, she has like a damage multiplier based on the amount of shields. So I did the thing where I kill my characters and bring them back to apply shields. Basically just to buff Mael so she could one-shot the son of a bitch once I break him. And I'm really glad I had those shields because I didn't know what the attack was because I'd never seen it before and I missed most of the attacks. But luckily my shields absorbed it. So Lamplighter, that one took me about half an hour, but again, it was a puzzle to get around. The two Duelistos, the hardest part for that one was, this probably sounds boring to a lot of people, but I had to adjust my character's individual speed stats to force them into a specific turn order because those assholes have a completely separate phase, and I needed Mael to be buffed in a specific way so that she went right after phase 2 started. Or those, the funniest thing about those two is they have the longest combo I've ever seen. It's got to be like 25 hits. The first time I saw it, I missed like the second hit and immediately died. And the character just kept going. It's like, no, I'm committed. I'm going through the entire combo string. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, she's already dead. Sit there going through like this 25 hit combo for like a full 30-40 seconds. So funny. So I've got those two super bosses, and the two new the two remaining that I know of are Super Duper Clea, and this time her shield is completely invulnerable, Joy, and Super Duper Simon. Oh good. Now he's got even more after image bullshit to contend with. Like, I tried Simon once, and I, like, missed the third... I missed the third shot. Well, actually, I guess it was the fifth, because he was doing that thing where he's doing the after image thing. I went, ba-bam, ba-bam, and then I missed, and then he just kept going for, like, 15 more shots. I'm like, this is gonna... Okay, we'll work on Clea. So Clea's interesting in that her shield isn't just highly damage resistant, it's completely invulnerable, and I am very glad that the game literally tells you invulnerable, because again, I would have had to look stuff up. What it is she has 3 different combos, and you have to perfectly parry one of the combos to take down her shield to start attacking. It took me a few tries to learn the timing. Took down her shield, did one of my hard... I wasn't set up for it, so I just did one of the hardest hitting attacks, skills that I could, and it did a very minuscule amount of damage. And I'm like, oh, bother. Okay. So, like, I have not beat her yet, because I was trying it this afternoon. I have a plan, but I kept botching the combo timing. So my plan is to just burn stacker, because my characters, I have the first strike, Pictos, and all 3 of them, and I think they all have cheater or something on. So I get essentially 6 turns before she goes, but she's invulnerable, so I can't really do anything. So I just loaded them up with the machine gun skills so they can just burn stack her so that she's got like 200 burn on her by the time she goes. Can't really do anything else. Then, while we get to the end, I'm going to put Mile into Virtuo stance, which, you know, like triples her damage or something, and then have CL double her damage. And then hopefully parry the whatever combo comes out perfectly. And then I'm going to hit her as hard as I can with my L and see how much damage that does. If it one-shots her, great. If it does only like a third damage, well, maybe I'm going to have to do that Monoko gradient insta-break thing. Or I could do the fill the break bar upon revive thing. There's a Pictus that does that, and then hit her when she's stunned. Maybe that'll be enough. I don't know. I haven't gotten to the... I need to I need to see how much damage Mael can do to her when her shield's down. And unfortunately, this afternoon I kept messing up the timing. There's 3 different combos, and whichever one came up, I invariably screwed something up, which meant that I'd have to go around the horn again, looking at my turn order and making sure she was on the right stance and was buffed, and then the combo comes in and I'd screw it up again. So I'm not sure how much damage Mael's doing yet. So once I know how much damage she does, then go from there. So really fascinating in that the super bosses for this turn-based RPG have, at least for me, turned into a puzzle game instead of really a fighting strategy kind of a game. Very interesting. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Clair Obscur. Oh, and I did actually beat the game. I finished the story because I was thinking I should go to the final dungeon. There's probably some Pictos there that I haven't used, and there were. Some pretty good ones too. I think one of them had something to do with stun that I used on Simon anyway. Those 2 super bosses are the last. Super Clea and Super Simon are the last 2 challenges of Clair Obscur, at least that I'm aware of. There might be something crawling around the overworld that I missed, but let's see. But having a lot of fun with that. Anyway, that's it for tonight. Tomorrow, I know we're so close to the end of Cold Steel 2, but we're going to take a break from Cold Steel 2 because I still need to grind out about 200,000 Mira so that I can afford the last Phantasmal Mirror. So I need to do a little bit of off-camera grinding to get a bit more Sepith to sell. Pardon me. Goodness. So tomorrow we are going to continue working on Steve Raberdine's Patreon reward videos, and we will dedicate tomorrow's stream to Suikoden 2. So look forward to that. And until then, have a good night. I hope your investments are doing well. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.